they are somehow, well, they're God's chosen people. Most white people I know feel like that. They're God's chosen people and they're superior to everybody else. For sure, to native peoples. And so I learned about the chosen people, Canaan, and then learned about killing. Like concerning this is found in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are above the face of the earth. Isn't that amazing? And God chose the Jews to be above all the races of the earth. Learn that about the chosen people, that they're God. You know, from my point of view now, looking back at that, he plays favorites. And then I learned about Canaan, promised land. One in Genesis chapter 12, verse 6 and 7. And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Sichem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. And the Lord appeared unto Abram and said, Unto thy seed will I give this land. Another is found in Genesis 13, verses 12 and 15. Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, for all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. And another reference, Leviticus chapter 20, verse 24. What I have said unto you, you shall inherit their land. Their land. And I will give it unto you to possess it, a land that floweth with milk and honey. And notice that in one of the references, and the Canaanites were still in the land. So again I say, God plays favorites. Then the killing part. I found over probably 4 dozen verses that deal with killing, where the Old Testament God commands his chosen people that when they go into the promised land, and if those people there resist, well, kill them. Like here's an example here. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and have cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt utterly smite them and utterly destroy them. Utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. That's Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. Then another verse like a verse similar to that, similar sentiments, Deuteronomy chapter 20, verses 16 and 17. But of the cities of these people, which the Lord thy God doth give thee for inheritance, thou shalt save alive nothing that breatheth. That was applied to here. People use those verses when they to steal land here in the United States, and to steal land here and kill in not only in the United States but in Minnesota as well. There was a guy coming down the Minnesota River, got in the Shakopee area, looked out and said, Canaan, land of milk and honey. And I remember when I first read that, I shuddered because I knew what that meant. It meant that the guy saying that he was of the chosen people, and he believed that God had chosen him and his kind to come. And then the lands that he was talking about, our lands, Dakota lands, that this was Canaan, the land of milk and honey, and the promised land. And then that, so that would be okay then to kill us. Because the Old Testament God commanded them to, so they could steal our land, get rich off our resources, and feel that they were being righteous and holy. So, here we're talking about holy genocide. Columbus, and one of the things that they used to do among many horrible, terrible things was they had a small gallows on which they could hang 13 native peoples at a time. And they would do that, hang 13 native peoples at a time in honor of Jesus Christ and some of the other ones. But in that 21 years, from 1492 to about 1513, according to David Stannard in his book, American Holocaust, that 8 million people were killed. Columbus did things like cut off the hands of indigenous peoples if they didn't bring in their 3-month quota of gold. These things I'm talking about, that would be one good source. David Stannard, Stannard, American Holocaust. He's not very popular with the Jews. I go 8 million slaughtered in the Caribbean. That was before they even reached the mainland. And that figure eclipses the 6 million Jews that were killed. But boy, this morning again, I saw something on, quote, the Holocaust. And that's terrible, that's horrible, and I don't mean to belittle or deny, reduce it, disparage it, but that's not the only genocide. There were other genocides where more people were killed than that. And what happened with the indigenous peoples of the Americas was one of the figures, what happened to the Jews. It pales in comparison to what happened to the indigenous peoples of the Americas. But no one knows it. It's not taught. It's a quote in the white man, Brian saw as, quote, a conflict of knowledge with ignorance, of right with wrong. Since the Dakota did not obey the divine injunction to subdue the earth, he was in the wrongful possession of a continent required by the superior right of the white man, a policy, manifest destiny, that God, providence, has ordained that the white people, the Western U.S. Euro-Americans, to take over this 3 billion acres of land within the continental United States. Because God has given it to them. He's given it to His chosen people. So these Western Europeans regarded themselves as symbolic Israelites. Is to engage in truth-telling and to do so fearlessly, no matter who might be offended. But to tell the truth about what happened, because I think I can back up all the things that I say. And who did it? The Euro-Minnesotans and the United States government and Minnesota as a state. They did these things. Bounties on Dakota scalps. And it started out at $25, then it was raised to $75, and finally $200. Norwegian man or enterprising young German man could shoot themselves a Dakota and get $200, buy a quarter section of land, and begin a career in agriculture. That was working for economic justice, that, demand payment for lands that have been stolen from the Dakota. Like, there's about, right within the Minnesota state proper, there's about 54 million acres that have been stolen and basically not paid for. And then reparations for genocide. And to do nothing is unacceptable.